In a society obsessed with appearances, we often mistake charm for character. But when adversity strikes, true nature reveals itself. And the Stoic doesn't look away in this video. We explore how silence, detachment, and inner clarity help the wise protect their peace and navigate chaos without being consumed. You'll learn why not every battle is worth fighting, and how walking away can be an act of strength, not weakness. Stoic wisdom teaches that letting go isn't about resentment. It's about self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Join us as we look at how emotionally mature individuals silently cut ties with people who drain their energy or distort their values. This isn't about judgment, it's about survival of the soul. Stay until the end. Your peace depends on it. Letting go is not giving up. It is an act of freedom. Letting go may sound simple, but for many, it is one of the hardest things to do, not because they don't understand it, but because deep down, we often identify ourselves with what we cling to, an old relationship, a role that once made us proud, or an unfulfilled expectation. Letting go feels like abandoning a part of the self, and that very attachment is what keeps us stuck. Here's a truth no one wants to face. Sometimes, it's not the loss that hurts, it's how long we held on what we can't control. Other people's feelings, outcomes, or even the past are often what we try hardest to grip. And in doing so, we lose the most precious thing, peace of mind. Stoic philosophy does not teach us to run from emotions. It teaches us to detach from the need to control what lies beyond our reach. When you cling to something with fear and anxiety, you're not loving it, you're letting it control you. Letting go doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you stop letting that thing define your mood, dictate your actions, or dominate your inner life. Start with a simple question. What am I holding on to so tightly that it's costing me my peace? Ace, an unreceived apology, unearned recognition, or someone who chose to walk away. Maybe you don't need them back. Maybe you just need to be free. Letting go is not giving up on what matters. It is refusing to trade your peace for something that no longer fits. When you choose to let go, you don't lose control, you finally gain it. Because in the end, the person who is no longer controlled by circumstance is the one who is truly free. When you step back, wisdom steps in. There are moments in life when your mind becomes so tangled that you can no longer tell right from wrong. Emotions swirl, words from others hit your heart like a hammer, and in the chaos, you want to react, say something, do something, just to feel in control again. But impulsive reactions are double-edged swords, and the deepest wounds don't come from what others say, they come from what we fail to think through. The wise do not seek to win every moment. They know how to step back, like an artist, standing too close to the canvas. Every brush stroke feels chaotic and meaningless. But with a few steps back, the full picture comes into view. Life is the same when you step back from a situation. You're not avoiding it, you're creating space to see more clearly. Stoicism does not teach avoidance. It teaches you to create just enough distance to distinguish between emotional impulses and truth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And in that small step back lies the power to reclaim your center. One deep breath, a walk outdoors, a journal entry to clear the noise. These seemingly small acts are the foundation of wisdom. You don't need to answer every attack. You don't need to respond to every angry emotion. Timely silence is a form of strength. It gives you the clarity to discern whether you're reacting from pain or responding with reason. And once you see clearly, your actions will no longer come from fear or weakness, but from the calm of someone who governs their mind. Step back, not to retreat, but to see the path ahead. Not everyone deserves to walk beside you. Some relationships aren't exactly toxic, but they exhaust you. Some people aren't truly bad, but they make you forget who you are. And sometimes, even when love still lingers, you must walk away because staying is no longer love. It's surrendering to the fear of loneliness. The truth is, you cannot grow while anchored in relationships that keep pulling you backward. You cannot find peace if every time you're with someone, you have to remind yourself not to speak honestly, not to live authentically. We often say, "I don't want to hurt them," as an excuse to change nothing. But we forget one thing. We are hurting ourselves a little more every day. Stoicism teaches that the only thing you truly control is your own choices and reactions. You are not responsible for how others feel, but you are responsible for your own integrity. If a relationship constantly makes you feel small, lost, or like you must perform to be loved, then it's time to ask, why am I here? For love or out of obligation? For value or out of fear? Decisiveness does not come from a cold heart. It comes from a clear mind that knows not everyone is meant to walk your path to the end. And that's not wrong, nor does it require blame. True strength lies in knowing when to hold on and when to let go, not out of anger, but out of respect for both sides. If you're hesitating in a relationship that's wearing you down, try creating a quiet distance, 2 weeks, with no meeting a month, with less contact. Then listen to your mind. Do you feel longing, or do you feel like you can breathe again? Not everyone deserves to walk beside you, and that's okay. Life is a journey of change to bring you closer to the person you were born to become. Some conversations heal, others break you apart. Some words are like sunlight, gentle, warm, making you feel seen. But other words, though casually spoken, can scratch deep into your heart. Not every conversation leads to connection, and not everyone knows how to listen with true understanding. We live in a noisy world, where conversations are often just reflex, asking to reply, listening to argue, speaking to fill silence. But in that chaos, someone who truly listens becomes a rare sanctuary, a place where others can be themselves. A real conversation isn't about who's right. It's about having the space to be honest without fear of judgment. In Stoicism, Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who make you better and do the same for them." A healthy relationship isn't one where you always agree. It's one where you can disagree and still be respected. Be sincere and grow together. If someone constantly makes you feel defensive, exhausted, or unsure of your worth after every interaction, maybe it's no longer connection, but depletion. Remember, not everyone you tell your story to is meant to hear it. Healing begins with choosing the right person to open up to, and sometimes that's not the one you've known the longest, but the one who listens without judgment, who asks without pressure, and who stays silent when you need to find your own answers. You can be that space for someone else. 2. A moment where you set your phone aside. A moment where you don't interrupt when they're unsteady. A simple phrase, "I hear you. I'm here." In a world full of fleeting words, be someone others want to stay with, because sometimes a conversation at the right moment doesn't just heal, it can save. When you know where to stop, you begin to master your emotions. Have you ever left a conversation feeling drained, even though you barely spoke? Have you ever carried frustration, anxiety, or exhaustion that deep down you knew didn't come from you? It's likely that your emotional boundaries are wide open, allowing others' emotions to flood in and overwhelm you. In today's hyper-connected world, the line between me and others grows thinner by the day. A friend vents, and your heart feels heavy. A colleague is tense, and you lose sleep. A family member explodes in anger, and you go silent just to keep the peace. But empathy does not mean carrying the emotions of the entire world. Empathy is not self-sacrifice. It's understanding others without losing yourself. Stoic philosophy teaches, it is not things that upset us, but our interpretation of them. This applies not only to circumstances, but also to others' emotions. You cannot control someone else's mood, but you can choose how much it affects you. That boundary, that emotional filter, is what protects your peace. When you set a clear boundary, you are saying, I care about you, and I also respect myself. It could be a simple phrase, I want to listen, but today I need rest. Or a small action, staying silent during someone's anger instead of diving into a reactive argument every time you pause. You're training a vital habit, the habit of mastery over reaction. Don't wait until your mind is depleted to wonder why you're so tired. Start observing, what are your emotions, and what are you unknowingly carrying for others? Learning to separate them doesn't make you cold. It makes you capable of loving sustainably. Because only when you're grounded can you become a safe place for others to lean on. Emotional mastery is not about controlling others, it's about knowing when to let in and when to stop. And from that stopping point, you begin to reclaim the peace you've long lost. To hold on or let go. The question that shapes who you are. Some decisions in life have no absolute right or wrong. Holding on might reflect loyalty, but it can also be clinging. Letting go may seem like weakness, but it can be a sign of mature strength. It's not circumstances that define you. It's how you decide in those uncertain, torn moments. We're often haunted by the thought, if I walk away, I might regret it. But what's even more frightening is this: if you stay, you may lose yourself piece by piece one day, 1 week, 1 year, until you no longer recognize who you are. Many people remain in jobs, relationships, or environments that no longer suit them, simply because they fear change. But you cannot grow if you keep everything the same, just to avoid discomfort. In Stoic philosophy, Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," meaning, it's not the act of letting go that paralyzes you, it's the fear of what might follow. You fear loneliness, judgment, starting over. But what you should fear most is a reality that shrinks you day by day. Before a difficult choice, ask yourself 3 things. First, are these negative emotions exhaustion, insecurity, disappointment, a constant state? Second, by holding on, am I being true to my values or simply fulfilling an obligation? And third, am I staying because I want to or because I'm afraid? You don't have to act right away. Try a deliberate pause, 2 weeks apart, a month of silence, a few days without contact. Then listen to what awakens within. If peace begins to return, if you feel lighter, if you can breathe without pressure, then perhaps you already know the answer. To hold on or let go, it's not just a question of logic, it's a question of courage. And the one brave enough to be honest in that difficult moment is the one truly growing. Only when you disconnect do you truly connect. We live in a world where everything is constantly in front of us. Notifications, messages, social media, images, noise. Your mind never truly rests. You're constantly consuming information, constantly comparing, constantly reacting, and then you find yourself tired without knowing why. Maybe you don't need to do more. Maybe you just need to pause. Disconnecting sounds simple, but in practice, it's an act of courage because it forces you to face the emptiness, the very space we often fill with external noise. But it is within that space that you begin to hear yourself again, forgotten emotions, suppressed thoughts, true desires, long swept away by digital distraction. Stoicism emphasizes mastering the mind by focusing on what you can control. You can't control the ever-changing world outside, but you can choose what you allow into your mind. Disconnecting is not giving up. It is the first step in reclaiming your inner freedom. Try one day without social media, an evening without notifications, 1 hour without screens. In that silence, you may rediscover the clarity, depth, and peace you thought were lost. And then you will truly connect, not with the world, but with yourself. It's not that you don't have time. You haven't prioritized correctly in the rush of life. We often say, "I'm busy. I don't have time. I'll rest when things settle down." But the truth is, life will never truly settle. There will always be things to do, people to see, responsibilities to bear, and if you don't prioritize what nourishes you, no one else will do it for you. We often confuse what we want with what we need. You want success, recognition, to finish everything on time, but you need rest, genuine connection, time for your mind to recover. And when you constantly sacrifice the need to chase the want, what you lose isn't just your health, it's your clarity, your emotional balance, and even your sense of self. Stoicism teaches us to return to what is essential. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This applies not only to material things, but also to the mind. The more you eliminate the unnecessary, the more space you create for what truly matters, the enduring values that nourish you from within. Try writing down 5 things that make you feel truly alive. It might be walking, reading, talking with loved ones, journaling, or simply sitting in silence. Then ask yourself, how much time did I give to those things this week? If the answer is almost none, then the problem isn't a lack of time, it's a lack of right choices. Prioritizing isn't about doing more, it's about letting go of what doesn't matter. And only when you make those bold choices do you begin to live in alignment with what you truly need, not just survive under the weight of endless duties and expectations. Hold on to gratitude, even when nothing feels right. There are days when everything seems to turn against you. Work falters, relationships fracture, health declines, your mood drops. In such moments, the advice to be grateful can feel distant, even absurd. But it is precisely when nothing feels right that gratitude becomes your strongest shelter. Gratitude doesn't mean denying pain or sugarcoating adversity. It means choosing to hold a different perspective, a mental anchor, while everything else is crumbling. When you're grateful for the small things, a morning sunbeam, a warm cup of tea, a thoughtful message, you don't erase sorrow, but you refuse to be consumed by it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not worry about the future. Focus on the present moment." Stoicism teaches that serenity isn't about how smooth life is. It's about whether you can recognize meaning amidst imperfection. And gratitude is how you return to the present instead of getting lost in regret or anxiety. You can start with a simple habit. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each day. No matter how small, gradually, you'll notice your mind shifting. Instead of only seeing what's missing, you begin to see what's already there. And from that place, you live with less tension, less judgment, and more resilience through life's changes. Gratitude doesn't remove hardship, but it helps you walk through it with a steady heart. Because when you're grateful, even when nothing seems right, you are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the one choosing how to see, how to live, and most of all, how to remain at peace within. Don't be hard-headed, be fluid like water. Life doesn't follow your plan. There will be days when you prepare thoroughly, give your all, and still fail. There will be people you trust completely who suddenly turn their backs. And sometimes, What you thought was everything disappears in the blink of an eye in those moments. What determines whether you fall or move forward isn't strength, it's flexibility. Flexibility is not weakness. It is the ability to adapt without losing yourself, like water, soft, yet persistent, able to slip through cracks, yet strong enough to wear down stone. The flexible person doesn't resist the current of life, they adjust to keep moving. Stoicism teaches that it's not events themselves that cause suffering, it's how we respond to them. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you refuse to change, you imprison yourself in expectations. When you learn to accept, you begin to find new paths, perhaps different from what you hoped for, but still leading you forward. In the face of unexpected upheaval, pause and ask, what am I resisting? If I let go of expectation, can I see the opportunity behind this failure? Instead of fighting to make everything go back to how it was, try to see what the new is trying to teach you in that flexibility. You grow stronger, not because you control the situation, but because you're no longer controlled by it. Flexibility is the courage of the mature, the ability to shift direction without losing your sense of direction. It's when you no longer need everything to be perfect in order to fully live in the present, and sometimes, only when you let go of what's old are you light enough to receive what's new. You are stronger when you care for others in a world where everyone is busy chasing personal goals. Taking a moment to care for others seems like a luxury, but the truth is compassion and kindness do not make you weak. On the contrary, they are signs of inner strength, because only when you are full from within can you give without feeling depleted. Stoicism doesn't teach you to become cold-hearted. On the contrary, Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What is good for the community is also good for the individual." That means, when you uplift others, you also uplift yourself. A kind gesture, a non-judgmental ear, a well-timed act of generosity, all are signs of a soul that has matured. Caring does not mean sacrificing yourself to the point of exhaustion. It is conscious presence, knowing when to help and when to step back and let others walk their own path. A compassionate person does not carry the world's burdens, but they show up with sincerity, and in a world full of judgment, that sincerity is what builds lasting connection. You can begin with the smallest things. Listen to a friend without checking your phone. Send a message not out of politeness, but because you truly care. Sometimes you don't need to do much, just be fully there. And that alone is enough for someone to feel seen. And the miracle is this: the more you give in the right way, the steadier you become. Because you are no longer trapped in a closed-off ego, you open your heart and begin to see what truly matters. You are not strong when you shut the world out, but when you can open your arms to it and still stay grounded, that is true strength. Don't wait until your body collapses to start listening. Have you ever noticed when work is stressful, you breathe more heavily? When your emotions are tangled, you can't sleep. When your mind is tired, your body feels sluggish and heavy. But instead of stopping to care for yourself, we often choose to push harder, keep running, toughen up, tell ourselves, just get through today. And then today stretches into months, until one day, your body no longer listens. We often treat the body like a machine, demanding non-stop performance without paying attention to the fuel. But your body is more than a tool to get things done. It is the clearest mirror of your mental and emotional state. Every ignored stress, every buried wound eventually shows up through shallow breaths, restless nights, and quiet exhaustion. Stoic philosophy emphasizes, to have a resilient mind, you must first have a stable physical foundation. Seneca once wrote, "A sound mind in a sound body." That doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but you must consciously listen to and care for your body, mind, and soul as one unified system. You don't need major changes, just start each day with a glass of water, go to bed a bit earlier, eat without rushing. Take a silent walk. These small, repeated acts will restore energy, calm the mind, and help you make wiser decisions. The important question is not, how much am I doing? But am I living within my limits? Because courage isn't about never being tired. It's about knowing when to stop, so you don't collapse after going too far. Self-care is not indulgence. It is the foundation that allows you to stand steady in a turbulent world. And if you want to do anything that lasts, begin by listening to your body today. Decisiveness is an act of self-respect. There are times when you know exactly what needs to be done. Walk away from a toxic relationship. Say no to a request that violates your values, or let go of a role that's draining you. But instead of acting, you hesitate, you wait a little longer, you hope things will change on their own, and then you stay for days, months, until you lose yourself in the uncertainty. Indecision doesn't just waste time, it erodes your self-respect. Every time you fail to make the necessary decision, you're quietly telling yourself, I'm not strong enough. Every time you delay what's right, you train yourself to become dependent on emotions, on others, on circumstances. In Stoic philosophy, courage is not impulsive action. It is the bravery to live in alignment with what you know is right, even when that makes you stand alone or go unrecognized. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, do what needs to be done. 1. Don't look back. Don't seek approval, stand on your own 2 feet. Decisiveness isn't coldness, it is clarity, calmness, and courage. It's when you're awake enough to see what is dragging you down and strong enough to release it. It's when you choose to walk away, not because you don't care, but because you're starting to care more about yourself. Ask yourself, is there something I've been prolonging out of fear of hurting someone, while hurting myself every day? If so, stop, make a decision not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because the decisive person isn't fearless of loss, they simply refuse to let fear dictate their life. And from that decisiveness, you step forward steadier, clearer, and freer than ever. When anger no longer rules you enter an unshakable state. Some insults make you want to strike back immediately. Some words set your heart ablaze for a few seconds, then leave you regretting for days. Emotions are natural, but letting them control your reactions is a form of powerlessness. And only when you learn to observe anger without being swept away by it, do you truly enter the state of inner freedom. People can hurt you, but you decide how long to hold that pain. People can offend you, but you choose whether to react. Not reacting isn't weakness. It's the strength of someone who knows their worth, who understands that anger drains energy and solves nothing. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In Stoic philosophy, anger is a signal, not a command. When you feel triggered, take a step back, one deep breath, one question, am I reacting or responding? That small pause is where you reclaim control, and gradually, you build a habit, refusing to let anyone out there control the world inside you. Remember, each time you choose silence over argument, each time you walk away instead of exploding, you prove to yourself that you're no longer a prisoner of emotion. You are the observer, the master, and emotion, no matter how strong, no longer has the power to knock you off your values. To be free of anger doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let those feelings dictate how you live, how you love, and how you act. That is the clearest sign of emotional maturity and the first step toward an inner peace that nothing can shake. When you live by your values, life no longer feels confusing. We often think freedom means no one can control us, but to the Stoics, true freedom isn't found in having no limits. It's found in choosing to limit yourself to what truly matters, because when you don't live by your own values, you end up living by other people's expectations, emotions, or pressure, and so you wander aimlessly while your inner compass is left ignored. Living by your values doesn't make life easier, but it makes every decision clearer. You no longer ask, "Am I doing the right thing?" Because you already know what matters most to you. You're no longer swayed by praise or blame, because you understand that external validation can never define your inner worth. In Stoic philosophy, living with reason, virtue, and purpose is the foundation of a strong life. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be great. You only need to live each day closer to the principles you believe in: kindness, integrity, courage, simplicity, and you move toward becoming unshakable. Try writing down 3 core values you want to live by when faced with a tough choice or dilemma. Return to those values. They will guide you. You won't need more consensus. You won't chase temporary emotions. You'll act because you know this is who you are becoming. People who live by their values are not easily shaken. They're not cold but steady, not immune to pain but not broken by it. They walk through life with quiet strength because every step rests on a solid inner foundation. And when you live this way, you not only gain inner freedom, you become a source of strength. Without shouting, without proving, you earn respect and trust because you know who you are. And nothing out there can change that. Letting go to return to the strongest version of you life is constantly changing. And there are many things beyond your control. But amid all the chaos, one thing remains in your hands: how you choose to live. You can keep holding on to what's old people, jobs, habits, emotions, and let them drain your life force each day. Or you can let go. Letting go is not losing. It's a conscious act to make space for something better to arrive. When you let go of expectations, you live more realistically. When you let go of resentment, your heart feels lighter. When you let go of what no longer fits, you return to yourself clearer, stronger, and less shaken by the storms outside. Stoic philosophy doesn't ask you to be perfect. It simply reminds you everything starts within. And when you dare to face the truth, adjust your course, and choose values over impulses, you realize that freedom isn't some distant place. It is the state you enter when you release what no longer serves you.